What's going on, Dolphin fans? It is your boy Dillon, and so this video, the video I'm making for you right now, is going to be the video I promised you about Tua, and about whether or not he could possibly play at the beginning of the season coming up. But before I get to that, I forgot to make a quick prediction in my last video about the upcoming season as a whole, and so I'll just make that fast. Just really wanted to say that I believe that if they open up training camp this upcoming month in June, then I believe that they will also push and open the season on time. And not only that, but will play games with fans in the stadiums. And if they do that, it's going to be a massive disaster, and they are going to get a ton of people sick, and there will be people that die from it. And so I hope that's not the case. I hope that they decide to back off if they start getting cases, but with the way that a lot of people in power are lying about it, and with as much as they're pushing to get this going, and with them even admitting that they expect to have cases, etc., I don't have any confidence that they will do the appropriate things and they will just let people get sick and die. So unfortunately, that is what we have to expect and prepare for. Hopefully it doesn't happen, but that's what I'm going to be expecting and prepare for, so that way I can report on it if and when it does happen, and report on it accurately. Anyway, let's go ahead and get on to the actual topic of the video, though, and that is going to be Tua Tagovailoa and whether or not he could actually be playing for the Dolphins at the beginning of the season. So there's this report on Bleacher Report, but it comes from 24/7 Sports. Tua Tagovailoa could play with Dolphins earlier than expected. Tua Tagovailoa's health and ability to play this upcoming season is up for debate. The Miami Dolphins drafted the former Alabama star with the number 5th overall pick in April with the expectation that he would be the long-term franchise quarterback. The Dolphins haven't had one like that since Dan Marino, and they currently employ Ryan Fitzpatrick as a stopgap while Tagovailoa continues to rehab and learn the ways of the NFL. So all signs point to him not playing this year. I doubt that. Even if he doesn't start the season at the beginning, I find it unimaginable that he wouldn't be playing at some point in the year. My guess personally is my prediction for this, just real quick, is that if the season does open, Ryan Fitzpatrick will start, but a few games in, after maybe like 3 or 4 games, because I think it's probably going to go terribly, and then, Dolphins fans will be clamoring for him, etc. So maybe somewhere around the 3rd or 4th game or so, Tua will end up coming in and playing for the Dolphins. That's my guess as of right now. I mean, we obviously have to wait and see how a lot of things play out, and it's kind of just a loose prediction there, but that's how I see things. I mean, I think it's more likely that they'll start Ryan Fitzpatrick right off the bat. I just don't think one way or another. I mean, whether we did good, whether we did bad, I'm pretty sure that it's not going to take very long for Tua to end up in the lineup. Not so fast, according to a report from the Miami Herald. One person who spoke to the Dolphins front office came away with the impression that while it's likely Fitzpatrick will begin the season as the starter, Miami isn't opposed to playing Tagovailoa as a rookie if he earns the opportunity at some point this season, the Miami Herald's Barry Jackson wrote. And see, they're open. And look, I mean, of course, they say that kind of thing all the time anyway, to be fair. But they are leaving that door open. And the fans are going to be clamoring for it day one. But if Fitzpatrick doesn't perform, then they're absolutely going to be clamoring for it. Or even if the team starts doing well, they're going to be clamoring for it, because then they're going to want their star guy back there behind the rebuilt offensive line and so on and so forth to go out and be a star. So I find it inconceivable that he won't be playing at some point. Tagovailoa injured his hip during the 2019 regular season in his final year with Alabama, and injury was severe enough to consider Tagovailoa sitting out his NFL rookie year. I would certainly do that. Although injury or not, I would do that because I think quarterbacks should redshirt their first year regardless. Sliding in the draft or even returning to school to rehab and get back into playing shape. However, since he thrived in rehabilitation and is ahead of schedule, there is no reason to think that Tagovailoa won't play this year. That's another part of it, is absolutely every report has been like over the top fucking glowing. I have concern with that, but okay. I mean, you know, it's not my decision to make. Let's see. While week 1 may be unlikely due to lack of an offseason program amid the coronavirus pandemic, Tagovailoa might be on the field sooner rather than later if his play speaks for itself. And he's obviously going to outplay Ryan Fitzpatrick in practice. I mean, maybe not for the first couple weeks while he's still, getting adjusted. But again, I don't think it's going to take very long for him to outperform Ryan Fitzpatrick in practice. He is by far the better athlete. He's a lot younger, etc., etc. His ability and stuff like that is not a question for me at all. It's his health and whether or not he's going to remain healthy and available to play for us, and whether or not it's going to, they're going to put him in there sooner rather than later, and whether or not that turns out to be okay or not, depending on how the offensive line plays, right? So obviously there's a lot of nuance to all of this and a lot of things that have to play out around him for, us to have a firm, result on how everything turns out. Anyway, it's nothing against Fitzpatrick, but Tagovailoa will ultimately have an easier time supplanting him as the starter and star in Miami, unlike Marino, a Dolphins legend. Hall of Fame quarterback Warren Moon had some advice for the young signal caller on the latter. The great thing for Tua is Dan Marino retired 20 years ago, Moon said in a report by ESPN, so it's not like he's following right behind a legend like Aaron Rodgers following Brett Favre or whoever follows Tom Brady. He just has to be himself. He can't be Dan Marino. Just be yourself and rely on the people around you. If Tagovailoa is himself on the field and off, then the Dolphins are sure to have a bona fide star quarterback who can lead the franchise back to the promised land. With the major caveat that he stays healthy, and also the major caveat that, the offensive line plays well and his his offensive weapons play well and the defense plays well, etc., etc. All of these moves that they made had to pan out, right? Like they had to get these free agent choices right. They have to prove that they're not overpaid, just all right players. They gotta prove that their draft picks were right. Their first draft, to me, is pretty bad. Still trying to put it nicely. I don't know why. I'm really at the limit of giving a fuck about that. It was bad. Their first year was trash. It was trash. 2 of the guys aren't even on the fucking team anymore. A bunch of them were hurt. They seem to love taking guys with injury histories. Their first round pick was underwhelming at the least. Michael Dieter was complete trash. So I don't have any, and up to this point, their evaluation talent-wise and such has been pretty atrocious. So I don't really, and I personally believe that some of these guys in this draft were reaches. I don't think that they're gonna play as well as they, were picked. I don't think. I wouldn't have taken Austin Jackson. I would have taken one of the other top offensive linemen. I wouldn't have taken Noah Igbinoghene. I would have taken the top safety, right? Anyway, so, I don't personally see it, and so they have to prove it to me. They have to prove me wrong. They did not prove me wrong for the most part last season. They did prove me wrong on a couple things. I did at the beginning of the year think that we were going to go 0-16. They proved me wrong on that, but not by much. And they certainly, and it's not for lack of trying on the part of the front office and the coaching staff. They tried to make sure that the season was as shit as possible, but the players came through. But again, and it's funny because a lot of those players aren't even on the fucking team anymore, right? Like Samaje Perine comes to, or Gerald Willis, or guys like that. They're not even on the team anymore. So that also leads me, or reinforces the belief that part of the only reason why they, played as well as they did and overcame the coaching staff trying to throw games with their decisions, etc., is because they were playing for their personal careers and contracts and the livelihood of their families, and even for Ryan Fitzpatrick, who turned out to be, quite the leader on the field. But it was not, in my opinion, for the jackasses that fucking are at the top. Anyway, let me try not to get off on too many side tangents. In just 9 games in 2019 before the injury, Tagovailoa threw for 2,840 yards, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and completed a career-high 71.4% of his passes. Now that stat line looks pretty darn good for most quarterbacks in a full season. I would agree. But he didn't play a full season. Why? Because he got injured with a major injury. ESPN NFL insider Jeff Darlington said last week the quarterback situation for the Dolphins couldn't be any better. Okay. I mean, I guess. Like I said, we have to wait and see how it plays out. So Ryan Fitzpatrick might ultimately go down, if this is a thing, as the greatest bridge quarterback in NFL history of the NFL. Really? Oh my God. I mean, look, I'll admit that I, didn't, that I don't know, like Ryan Fitzpatrick, I personally, absolutely, I mean, even to this day, would rather have Tannehill over him without question, but I mean, he did win me over, Ryan Fitzpatrick, with his moxie and his fight and his grit and his passion and his leadership abilities, okay? But still, I think it's a pretty far stretch to say Ryan Fitzpatrick might ultimately go down. To be fair, he said, if this is a thing, which I don't think it is to begin with, but as the greatest bridge quarterback in NFL history, in the history of the NFL. Like, really, bro? Really? First of all, bridge from what? Because prior to that, it was just a fucking mess with their whole implosion of the team. I know you would technically say, like, Ryan Tannehill and the mediocrity, whatever, but, like, a bridge from what? And to what? We don't know, because it hasn't fucking played out yet. Right? Like, all of these fucking definitive statements that the Dolphins are going to have this massive turnaround and that Tua's going to just be a bona fide star and all this shit. How do you know that? You don't know that. We can guess. Like, I don't know that things are going to turn out to be a disaster because I can't fucking predict the future. That's how I perceive things, and that's how I project things to turn out based off of the data that I have at hand, but I don't know it for sure. I'm not a fucking psychic. I can't fucking look into my crystal ball and be able to say, yeah, this is what's going to happen for sure. So all these people that are making these definitive statements are ridiculous, especially considering a bunch of the evidence that points to the contrary. But okay, whatever. In this particular situation, when you've got a guy coming in with health concerns, by the way, every time I bring up to the Dolphins, when do you think we'll see Tua on the field? They throw their hands up at me and basically say, what do you want from us? We haven't even looked at the guy since before the combine. Bruh, they say that, but they always say shit like that. That's just coach speak. My guess is they actually have a pretty firm decision already, made. My guess is the only thing that they're really waiting on is for training camp to open up, get him on the field, and just see him in a few practices. They might wait, as long as a few games, but my guess is probably not longer than that. I think there is even a substantial possibility that after preseason, they're like, you know what, fuck it, let's put this motherfucker in. Anyway, they don't know when he's going to be on the field. Normally, GMs are going to say that rookie isn't going to get on the field and that rookie ultimately does. But in this case, it actually makes sense why Tua wouldn't get on the field right away. Yes, I agree that the injury situation adds that element that makes it make more sense why he shouldn't. But people do irrational shit all the fucking time. So, and it is absolutely not out of the question that they put him in the lineup, early on. Anyway, To finish this up, though, you've got Ryan Fitzpatrick, who is the ultimate competitor, and he's beloved within the organization. I think they would hire him right now for some lifetime position. I don't even know what it would be, quite honestly. I don't know if it equates to wins, but it's the perfect situation to bridge one quarterback to the next. Again, I don't know about the perfect situation. It's not a bad situation. I will say that. But, I mean, like I said, at the end of the day, all of this is speculation anyway, and we have to wait and see what they decide, you know, how they decide to go about it, what their moves are, and then, you know, what the results are subsequently based off of, you know, those decisions that are made. So it's going to be massively interesting to see how it plays out. I'm certainly very curious. I think, you know, and just to wrap this up, again, I think what's most likely to happen, I certainly think that there is a possibility that after, you know, training camp and preseason, they could just be like, fuck it, and put him in day one or game one. But I think realistically, the most likely situation is that Ryan Fitzpatrick will start the season as, you know, the starter. And then a few weeks in, my gut feeling as of right now is, you know, after maybe about 3 or 4 weeks-ish, maybe about the first quarter of the season, you'll see Tua on the field. And then we'll have to see how it goes. So with that, guys, I'm going to get up out of here. I hope you guys enjoy my videos and perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And, of course, as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.